Love my shady Rays because partially I can block out the haters like Warren Sharp. Drop a like on this video, by the way. Yeah, they're fantastic. They keep me looking forward. Yeah, Warren Sharp, big time Cardinal hater, casually put out his offensive line rankings for 2024 based on, guess what, Bo? Very little data and analysis and knowing of ball. Because he has the Arizona Cardinals, which you could make an argument the Cardinals offensive line was the team MVP last year. Like the collective unit was the best unit on the team. He has them rated 31st overall in the NFL, just ahead of the New York Giants, Bo.
Yeah, this is just I guess you can blame being uninformed because I don't understand how you quite get here. I mean, the Arizona Cardinals, they were kind of anonymous to the rest of the league. Sure, not a whole lot of people watch Cardinals football, but you know, the whole case made by Warren Sharp was, you know, they have Paris Johnson Jr. moving over from right tackle, left tackle, and they signed Jonah Williams. And there just wasn't much to the analysis of why he had him ranked all the way at the bottom of it. You just see so many sacks surrendered throughout this league, and the Arizona Cardinals, like, they weren't perfect offensive line wise, but they were probably about the middle of the pack. And then as far as what they did in the run game, I mean, the Arizona Cardinals were getting 3.1 yards per attempt on each rush, which was, you know, they led the NFL as far as that goes. So it's just a sign of the offensive line getting push here. And there's no mention of that. There's no mention of how well, you know, what the season James Conner had or how great that rushing attack was. It's just, well, you know, PJ is making the switch from right to left tackle, and we really don't know too much about Will Hernandez, Yelda Froholt, because we didn't do our homework.
The Cardinals had the 4th graded rushing attack last year, and I would argue they've improved their offensive line. And he has them on a scale of 1 to 100 rated 11 points. 11 points on his dumb average ranks of positional unit. 100-point scale. He has the Cardinals offensive line with 11 out of 100. I just can't make sense of it. It's not worth making sense from sharp football analysis.
They gave up 42 sacks
with Joshua Dobbs and Clayton Tune running into a bunch of sacks.
Jacob, do you mind? Can we see that list again? Like, they've got, and rightfully so, only the Giants below him. They gave up 85 sacks last year, but somehow he's got the Commanders up ahead of them. They gave up 65. So did the Panthers. The Panthers well ahead of the Cardinals. And I know they sank $100 million into their guard play, but they had horrendous tackle play. This is just an egregious list. This is just brutal. Like, I do agree with Detroit. Like, I really like their offensive line. I like Cleveland's offensive line, and we know about Philly, but you know,
the Jets.
The Jets
continue. The Jets have paid off this offseason.
Right. And the Bengals are a top 10 offensive line unit. Have they ever been?
Wow. Congrats to them for getting Joe Burrow injured every year. The New York Jets.
And the Bears, I don't know if you can find, like, the Bears being ranked that high is a little baffling to me at 12.
How about the Carolina Panthers? The Carolina Panthers offensive line is abysmal. Yeah. Paris Johnson Jr. would be the best offensive lineman on most of the teams 20 and down. I mean, it's laughably bad. Another one that I don't understand, like the Las Vegas Raiders, who plays for them up front?
Right.
Like, they drafted Alex Leatherwood out of Alabama a couple of years ago. Gruden did. He couldn't play. He's out of the league.
Right.
Again, it goes back to, we should just play this. We should just have this clip ready to go. We actually should do this after the show. Clip when Mina Kimes came on the show about a month ago and said a lot of people just didn't watch the Cardinals last year. And we're just going to blast that out every time these rankings come out, because frankly, and I know people are loving the disrespect and they want to be underrated, and I agree with that. We're going to have to endure about 2 more months of this, because preseason rankings will come out and positional rankings will come out. Everybody's looking at last year and everybody's looking at big flashy free agent signings. It's like, let's look at not what the Cardinals don't have, but what they do have from a culture standpoint. They took a guy who was a backup in Cleveland that was doing CrossFit in his gym that became a very solid starting center for them. They took Will Hernandez, elevated him, according to PFF, as a top 15 to 20 free agent. They took Paris Johnson Jr., who I don't know, will only probably get better. as his natural position of left tackle. Jonah Williams was the top tackle available in free agency. And last year they were dismal at left guard. So they have a bunch of options. Evan Brown, Isaiah Adams. They got a bunch of guys they could plug and play. Their offensive line, I would argue, was the best coached unit on the team last year. The cohesiveness, the ability to push around teams up. Go look what they did to Dallas. Go look what they did to Pittsburgh. They ran over people. They ran on the Niners. I think they had like 200 rushing yards on San Francisco. That doesn't just happen.
Right.
This wasn't some sieve of an offensive line. Could it be better? 100%.
Right.
It is not a top 10 offensive line. It's top 20. And I would argue if Paris Johnson Jr. hits this year, it's the top half offensive line in the NFL.
I agree. I mean, you've got, I think what Warren Sharp, who Damon and I, we awarded him LVP of Las Vegas Radio Row at the Super Bowl. He's the least valuable player out there. And he continues to have bad takes on the Arizona Cardinals. And he's got every right to do that. But, he's coming from, he's very close to getting into the Hall of You Don't Know Ball.
Yeah.
Based on lists like this, just based on, I'm sure what he knows about Will Hernandez is Will Hernandez, the New York Giants draft bust, right?
Yeah.
Second rounder that didn't pan out for a bad organization that couldn't coach up offensive line. What he knows about Yelda Froholt is very little. I'm sure he doesn't know how to pronounce Yelda Froholt's name, and that he was a backup in Cleveland and didn't see what he did and how he kind of stabilized the center position for the first time in a long time. A lot of the points you made. And then Paris Johnson Jr. playing every snap as the top, drafted tackle out of last draft. So all he knows is he played right tackle and he's transitioning to left tackle. It's really another lazy take. And because the Jets draft Olu Fashanu, who he dropped. I know he went, 11 in this draft, and that's good for Olu. But he was supposed to be, in the conversation for the top tackle in this draft.
Not played it down of NFL football yet.
He's going from the Big Ten in a Penn State offense that was not that great, and then also they bring in Tyron Smith, who is washed. He's washed.
Morgan Moses.
And the Jets are a top 10 group.
We should just, at the end of the day, the Cardinals are if they're not the easiest target, I would have thought Carolina is an easy target. Not according to this list. The Cardinals are the easiest target in the NFL right now. And we went through it last year and they took their lumps, and rightfully so. And they were rebuilding the culture, and Michael Bidwell was in the news for all the wrong reasons. Yeah, they took their shots last year. But then they were a scrappy, feisty team. And they had 12 draft picks, and their quarterback's back. And we're feeling pretty good about it.
Yeah.
It's you show your hand. The easiest way is stuff like this. You just do not PFF has their scoring metric, their grading metric, which is sometimes flawed. And we call that out, but at least they're consistent. I don't even know what this is. At the end of the day, it's the Cardinals are the most underrated, undervalued team, disrespected team. You would think the roster that they're about to field is on par with last year.
Right.
A lot of people just assume the Cardinals actually, they didn't get better, but they just added a receiver. That's it.
Yeah.
I heard we're talking shit about the Jets.
I mean,
the Jets actually, Damon, have the sixth best offensive line.
And Warren Sharp.
The Jets are a dynasty.
The combination of the two is my bat signal. I'm here, boys.
Welcome to the program, Damon. It's just Warren Sharp and his ironic mustache, but what's not ironic is his list is just bad. It's just plain bad.
Let's take a peek at this again.
Yeah,
I need to see
take it. Maybe shield your eyes. Sixth. The Jets are sixth. Offensive line.
It's pretty insane. What about the Falcons being 2? Isn't that a little wild?
Yeah.
Matthews is up there in age now, isn't he? Or is he still playing at high level? I don't have a big problem with the top 5 offensive lines here. I wholeheartedly agree with.
I got a problem with one I just identified.
Okay.
Look at number 11.
Oh yeah,
that's agreed. The Denver Broncos. Seriously, the Denver Broncos every offseason, it's people turn on John Elway highlights. So I kind of like the Broncos. Guess what? It's 2024. That team's a disaster. The Broncos offensive line. Hang on,
Mark Schlereth. Who else is on that offensive line?
Who's who they got? They got Garrett Boyles. He's solid. Ben Powers, Sam Mustipher. Quinn Miners?
Yeah, Quinn Miners.
Quinn Miners.
He's actually good.
And Mike McGlinchey, who's a turnstile.
$80 million. McGlinchey. Remember when JJ Watt ruined a whole Sunday for Mike McGlinchey one time.
He destroyed him. The Niners are like, no thanks. Garrett, like I like Garrett Boyles. I think he's one of the most overrated players in the NFL.
Coming off injury, isn't he?
Garrett Boyles last year for the Broncos.
Every year, I think.
Yeah. And Bowles.
Garrett Boyles, I'm sorry. Nah,
Bowles,
he played a good
Bowles,
amount last year. He was fine. He was 75 grade from PFF. Allowed some sacks, allowed some penalties, but like you would think that he's Trent Williams 2.0 based on that ranking.
11.
The Bronco, if you didn't know football like Warren Sharp and ESPN, you would think the Broncos and the Jets were going to be in the AFC Championship.
Right. You got Florio putting him 22 in his power rankings. Remember that?
Colin Cowherd and Middlecoff had another podcast, and they said the Broncos are underrated coming into this year.
In what world?
What are we doing? Their quarterback can't throw the football.
How does Colin Cowherd say in one segment make the emphasis in the correct point of how consistent good quarterback play can elevate a roster, and then sit and say that the Broncos are a underrated team?
Were you being serious?
Quarterback room of Bo Nix, Zach Wilson, and Jared Stidham.
Were you being serious when you said that the Giants gave up 85 sacks? Was that a real stat?
That's real.
Oh my, that is
very real.
Atrocious.
I didn't think
85
I didn't think it was that possible.
What is that per game? I'm getting my calculator out. 85 divided by 5 sacks a game. You're just getting blasted 5 times a game.
It's got to be a record, right?
Atrocious.
I mean, I know David Carr for the Texans in his rookie year got hit 70 times. Did they just blow the record out of the water last year?
No one's talking about. Again, if Cardinals did that, it'd be leading Sports Center every day. Remember when the Cardinals gave up 85 sacks last year? I like this. This is my favorite chat.
You would think they gave up 85 sacks, being 31st, according to Warren Sharp.
Like I would literally come on the post. We would host our post game show, and I would come on and be like, "Man, Cardinals offensive line was really good again today. It's great." You see, we would cut clips for Twitter the rest of that week, showing huge gaping holes and blowing out people in the run game. Yeah. And it's just no. Actually, it's Johnny. You're wrong. It's actually abysmal. It's the second worst in the NFL. I'm like, oh, okay. Guess it's 5 me's out there trying to block people.
Kyler Murray was sacked 18 times in his 8 games that since he returned. I mean, that's like 2 times.
You know how
that's 2 times per game.
You know how like there's that saying, he doesn't miss. Warren Sharp, he doesn't make.
Our LVP.
I've never once has he like been like, oh yeah, that was a really good opinion by Warren Sharp.
You've never seen it come across your timeline and like, whoa.
0%. He's hitting triple zeros across the board right now.
You've never been once like, oh man, Sharp's in his bag. Sharp's in his bag today.